Settle down, brother. This is the Quarter Report. South Africa is a movie. Welcome to the watch party. I know that the Madlanga Commission is rightfully all-consuming of our attention as South Africans, but there are absolutely vital legal processes going on in South Africa right now that are not Madlanga-centric, that are unbelievably wild and important. The most obvious example for me is the Kampepe Commission into malpractice and potential corruption around the Truth and Reconciliation Commission aftermath. But another is the trial of Nosiviwe Mapisa-Nqakula, ANC stalwart, former Minister of Defense, and former Speaker of Parliament, one of the most powerful political positions you can be appointed to. Because I don't know if you remember, but just a little while ago, a year or two ago, she was arrested while being the Speaker on charges of soliciting 4.5 million rands worth of bribes. But that was one of the most box office arrest days in history because it featured a massive, terrifyingly long snake that was snaking its way out of her house behind SABC reporter Griselda Lewis as she reported the arrest live to national television. And what is unspooling is an insane story of bribes to the value of hundreds of thousands of rands stored in envelopes under car seats, and a targeted robbery targeting the person who was carrying the bribe. So clearly the robbers probably knew that they were carrying all that money. We're going to tell you all about it today. If you would like to support the show, all you need to do is click subscribe if you like what we do. If you'd like to support us financially, it's just 100 Rand a month to click join. If you'd like to buy merchandise, www.3beaniesnetwork.com. And the final way to support us is to advertise your business on the show. You can email us at contact@3beaniesnetwork.com. James, before we get into the AI of it all and the TBN quiz, can we talk about Nosiviwe?
Absolutely. And I remember when around did this happen? Was it late 2024, early 2025?
It was surely a while ago.
Yeah, because we spoke about it a lot, and it seems it's obviously a bomba. It's a massive, massive deal for someone so high up and entrenched in the ANC, and also someone who was the Speaker.
The Speaker. That's the boss of Parliament. It's one of the highest ranking, most powerful positions in South Africa's governmental system.
But what's so crazy to think about is how shocked we were at that. Pre-Madlanga. And now it feels kind of quaint, like a cute, like old thing. They're like, oh yeah, I remember that kind of thing.
It was actually 4 April 2024.
Oh, okay.
So it's a good 2 years now. Okay. But now I need to introduce you to some new names. So a defense contractor named Mapisa-Nqakula is at the center of the state's case. She has turned state witness, and she claims that Mapisa-Nqakula consistently demanded bribes from her in exchange for contract work with the military. Pretty classic. You remember in the early days of this, it seemed like Mapisa-Nqakula had been demanding bribes in like the form of wigs. And now we're not sure whether the wigs were just code word for money. We had great hilarity ensuing about how expensive these wigs were that she wanted to wear, and that's the way that she wanted to get her bribes paid, as well as fancy jewelry and other kinds of clothing. Okay, so Mapisa-Nqakula received 4.5 million rand from Tsondwa Ndlovu between 2016 and 2019 while serving as the Minister of Defense. She denies all the allegations, but Tsondwa Ndlovu has now turned state witness. But now let's hear about Tsondwa Ndlovu's husband. There are multiple husbands in this story. She has an ex-husband, but we're going to start with the man who gave her the surname Ndlovu. His name is Major General, now retired, Noel Ndlovu, senior military doctor. I'm working from the reporting of Nonkululeko Njilo from Daily Maverick, who's done phenomenal work on this, as well as from News24, also wrote a great article about this, including about a BMW X3 that I'll be asking James about later, Tankiso Maketa. Okay, so the allegation is that Noel Ndlovu was in line to become the new Surgeon General, the top doctor of the military. He was Deputy Surgeon General. There was no one as qualified as him. There was no one else in the running. And the allegation is that Nombasa and Tsondwa Ndlovu was told by Mapisa-Nqakula that she would have to make a 2 million rand bribe payment to Mapisa-Nqakula in exchange for Ndlovu getting that promotion. So Ndlovu insists, so husband and wife insist, that was, in the words of one of them, a great wall of China between the two of them. And they didn't talk about work to each other. And they both insist that Noel Ndlovu had no idea that these payments were being made.
Smacks of Andrew
I
Johnson's
know.
testimony in multiple ways from
Apparently,
last week.
there are exactly 2 couples in the country who don't talk about their work with each other, and it's these two.
Like, not at all, not even nearly. Like, not even a mention of, like, oh, Janine from the office is irritating me with her food.
So the state claims that in 2018, in September, the wife, Nsondwa was summoned to the Minister of Defense at the time, Mapisa-Nqakula's home, after being told there was an ancestral message for her. And what actually happened was Nsondwa was expecting another request for money, and she arrived carrying cash. But instead, Mapisa-Nqakula requested 2 million rand to secure Noel Ndlovu's promotion within the SANDF. And I have to say, ancestors be moving mad. Obviously this is nonsense, but an ancestral message saying go to a home so that you can be told to pay a 2 million rand bribe to get your husband promoted to a position that he deserves. And apparently, according to the state, Nsondwa Ndlovu refused that bribe request because she believed that her husband would be promoted on merit. And so she never complied with that 2 million rand request. But separate from that, she did pay payment after payment after payment after payment, summing up to millions of rands, 4.5 million rand exactly, allegedly, according to the state, to Mapisa-Nqakula. Kind of extraordinary that we're now thinking about how she drew a red line over her husband's promotion for 2 million, but paid all these other bribes, thinking it would be chill.
I know.
Noel Ndlovu came out yesterday on the stand, and he said that he expected to be promoted based on his experience. Then he said that he got suspended for 4 years, from 2020 to 2024, from his job as the Deputy Surgeon General. And he he was informed, he says, that it was because one of his wife's tenders was under investigation. He came back to work Noel Ndlovu in 2024 to find that a junior had got the promotion that he thought he was going to get. And he had to report to someone who was his junior with less skills and less expertise, according to him. And barely a year later, he retired. So now let's talk about how Noel Ndlovu found out that his wife was passing money to the defense minister. And this is where I'm specifically going to jump to Tankiso Maketa's reporting. Sometime in 2017, Nombasa Nsondwa Ndlovu got robbed. She went out with her brother and withdrew hundreds of thousands, apparently around 300,000 rand from her FNB account. I know.
How do you even do that? Is there not like a fraud? I'm sorry.
I know.
What would you be paying 300K in cash for?
I know.
Maybe I'm in the wrong tax bracket and there is something like you go to a crazy restaurant and you can only pay in cash or whatever. But I'm sorry, there is just no situation where that should be allowed.
So early on the day, she went to an FNB branch and she withdrew hundreds of thousands, probably around 300,000 rand. 200,000 to give to Mapisa-Nqakula.
And 100,000 rand for petty cash.
Yes,
to get
so
home.
she kept 200,000 rand in an envelope beneath her seat in her car, and she kept apparently about 12,000 rand in cash in her handbag. James, this is the state's witness.
Okay.
This is the state's witness who are standing by her in this case. Okay. They went and parked in like a local area to buy food, and a white BMW X3, why is it always a BMW, parked them in. 2 armed robbers got out, went straight to the car, confronted them, stole Nombasa's cell phone and handbag, and the 12,000 rand in cash allegedly in the handbag, ransacked the vehicle, and tried to find what they clearly knew was there, which was 200,000 rands in cash, but didn't find it, but went away with the keys. Right? At this point, Noel Ndlovu finds out that this robbery has happened. But he also discovers that his wife actually didn't call him first. She called her ex-husband first. And she claims that in the fit of panic and awfulness, the first cell phone number that she could remember was her ex-husband's. Now, in her defense, do you know your partner's cell phone number? Maybe she was dating him. No, wait. Maybe she was married to her first husband, previous husband, at the time at which we still memorize cell phone numbers. And in the last bunch of years, when we don't do that anymore, don't pretend that you know it. She didn't memorize her current husband's cell phone number, or not as quickly or as well. I can tell you for free, James, that I know my dad's WhatsApp, a number, my mom's WhatsApp number, because we learned them many years ago, our old landline, and my childhood friend's landline, and that's it.
I know our old landline and the WhatsApp line.
Our WhatsApp line.
WhatsApp line. Those are the only two numbers. I don't even know my own number.
Also, the robbers, when they couldn't find the hundreds of thousands, ran away with the car keys and locked the car. So she couldn't even... They couldn't drive the car away from the scene. The car's still there. Then Nombasa gets home and tells poor Noel, who's still wondering why Nombasa called her ex-husband before him, that she still needs to go to the minister's house that night.
To report the crime. She didn't want to go to SAPS. She knew about the Madlanga Commission. She knew about Mkonazi, so she decided to go straight, not to the head of the police, to the head of the defense, because it was such a serious case, obviously.
Nombasa told Noel that she'd received another call indicating the minister was expecting her. Noel did not know which device she received the call on because her cell phone had been stolen during the robbery that had just happened. But he drove her to Mapisa-Nqakula's house anyway.
But he didn't know anything.
He didn't. So Ndlovu said that he couldn't remember whether he parked inside or outside of Mapisa-Nqakula's house, but he remembered that his wife got out of the vehicle carrying her handbag, I assume another one, and then entered the house alone. He never went into the house. That's what he says.
And she greeted the security guard by first name with a handshake that they had cooked up many months earlier.
And apparently, according to Noel, only a month later did Nombasa tell him about the money and all the payments, the tranches of payments. According to Noel, he got very angry with her because it was immoral and it was wrong and it was bad. And he told her to stop making the payments, and she agreed to stop making the payments.
Okay.
She made 5 more payments to Mapisa-Nqakula after that conversation, which Noel says he's not aware of, but the state is aware of. Obviously, the state knows about and has evidence for. So Noel said he never asked what the money was for. He didn't want to know. Great Wall of China, whatever. And to be fair, this jeopardizes his job, right? Yeah. Which he then 3 years later did get suspended over. He didn't want to be in this situation, assuming what he said is true. Assuming what he said is true. Oh, I've been to the ATM at the BP garage on William Nicol Drive, now Winnie Mandela Drive.
Me too.
But I'm not with FNB. Okay, so.
And also, I definitely do not live in Johannesburg, in the northern suburbs.
Yeah. Unbelievable. So, just to recap, Nombasa testified last week that she withdrew 300K from her FNB private banking account and then decided to take 200K to Mapisa-Nqakula. The armed robbers stole her handbag, cell phone, and 12K in cash, but didn't find the 200K under her passenger seat. And then her husband, unknowingly, allegedly, drove her to the minister's house where she delivered this money. And a month later, she told him what was actually going on. He claims, he claims that they agreed. Well, he was very angry, and then they agreed that that she would not pay any more times. She then did pay 5 more times over that period. Then Ndlovu got suspended for like 4 years over investigations into a tender his wife secured while being a military contractor. Then he came back to work, and he'd missed out on the promotion to Surgeon General from his position as deputy within the SANDF to a less qualified, according to him, less experienced junior. And a year later, he retired.
I understand that, legal processes take a very long time, and the law moves slowly, but, 9 times out of 10, mostly it does, find the thing and punish the right people. However, if I was being put through the ringer in the way that these guys are being put through the ringer, I would get very irritated, because I would be like, yes, I did all those things, but you guys aren't cooking the person, Mapisa-Nqakula, who was the one soliciting all this stuff, allegedly, and the one who really needs the scrutiny.
Yeah, but this is the case to be built. No, they have to do this part.
I know, that's why I prefaced it by saying
they can't jump in on Nosiviwe if they haven't done this yet.
I know, but I would be sitting there going, guys, you're focusing on me, where it feels like there's a bigger fish that is required to be fried right now.
They have to get the story straight.
I know, I understand that, but
this is the oil with which they fry the fish. Where else are you going to get the oil from?
I think of it more as like the seasoning, No,
I don't know. No, you can't fry a fish without oil. You can fry it without seasoning. You need the oil.
You can fry it without seasoning. I can't.
Are you saying you can fry fish without oil?
I didn't say that.
Yes, you did.
I didn't say without oil. I just said
yes, you did.
You.
That was snarky.
You
I do fish better than you. Way better. You can't even cook fish. When have you ever cooked a fish? You've never cooked a fish. You've never cooked a fish.
Daniel, as a famous man once said, if you give a man a fish, he feeds.
Teach a man.
No.
You give a poor man a fish and you feed him for a day. You teach him to fish. You give him
Okay, so what else do we need to know? The other thing that we need to know is that last Friday, Major General Mbuyiselo Mgwebi testified, another retired senior military officer. This is from Nkululeko Njilo's reporting. And Mgwebi said that Nombasa Nsondwa-Ndlovu had approached him through a late Defense Secretary, Dr. Sam Kulube, claiming that she was being extorted by Mapisa-Nqakula. And Mgwebi said he then told the Defense Minister, he called her, contacted her directly, which is a fascinating response to this allegation, by the way. You don't turn to a disciplinary process or a legal proceeding. You just call the person who's been accused of soliciting bribes on behalf of the person that is being solicited of the bribes. And you say, hey, are you soliciting bribes? According to Mgwebi, Mapisa-Nqakula was surprised and said that she would contact Nsondwa-Ndlovu herself. But this does buttress Nsondwa-Ndlovu, this is Nombasa, the wife, her testimony that she sought help from senior military figures after she claimed the minister repeatedly demanded money from her. So it does actually reinforce that part of the story.
I just think in all of this, I am fairly confident that Mapisa-Nqakula is going to be found guilty of something. Allegedly. No, it's just my suspicion. I'm not saying she is guilty. I'm just saying she's fairly certain that something
she's going to be found guilty.
And the egg on the face, I know that the ANC is pretty shameless with their corruption accused people. Like they very rarely actually act on it. There is a string of people who were not cut from the ANC or given back big positions or moved somewhere else under intense corruption scrutiny. But particularly for Ramaphosa, who is pretty aligned with Mapisa-Nqakula and also has stood by her in some pretty key points in this corruption allegation. If she's found guilty, Ramaphosa is just adding to the pile of people that he has either reinstated or defended. And presumably, if this is going to be resolved before 2029, it's going to be another stick to beat the ANC with, saying, oh, you promised New Dawn, you promised recovery, and you're not really living up to that expectation that you've set.
And it seems as though she's still a member of the ANC. By the way, former ANC Women's League president. Wow, that do be a specific kind of person who gets that position.
What are you talking about? No bad horror stories have ever come out of the ANC Women's League in the last 6 months. Okay. Multiple times.
Right. Let's talk about the great AI debate over the TBN quiz jingle. A refresher, a hardcore recorder called Toast Seegers created us with AI a 14-second jingle that people love very much that we used for the TBN jingle. It was so popular that we then continued to use it. And go and watch James and my largely civil 12 minutes yesterday of debating whether or not we should keep it or replace it with something else.
Human-made.
Yeah. Then James's version of the TBN quiz that he made was offered as an alternative. A few people liked it. Most people said it's whatever. We should throw this out to people to like send in their own, which I think is a great idea, which I'll give you a mechanism for to do in a second, because I would actually love that. Some people said that they absolutely do not want to lose the TBN quiz jingle. Some people flamed James in the comments. Some people flamed me in the comments and on the WhatsApp line, whether or not, basically over whether we keep the AI jingle or whether we do a different jingle. Some people are very attached to the AI jingle. Some people aren't that attached and would rather do away with it. James created a poll on the WhatsApp channel. And though a lot of people on the WhatsApp line and the YouTube comments have said, how do I vote? We're not going to keep the voting open any longer because it's a comprehensive result, which is that literally, as of the start of this recording, 75% on the dot of people, 3/4 said, let's do away with the AI jingle. But there were some really fascinating ideas and points in both directions. And so James obviously wants to have something else to say about what kinds of AI he doesn't like and what kinds of AI he is fine with. But before then, I just want to offer you some really, really good ideas from members of the community, which kind of sum up different pulls and pushes towards and away from AI from lots of different people and their perspective. So first from Tim. And this is interesting. I didn't know this. Hey guys, so my input, Toast is actually a qualified, at least Rhodes University student qualified musician. About 23 years ago, I gave him and his band, Even Me, Eve and Me, Even Me, that's funny, the opportunity to play at the venue I managed in Makanda, formerly Grahamstown, called Tapes. This became the start of Monday Night Live Music. Should also be noted that the same venue was used by Mafikizolo amongst other South African music legends during Artsfest. Toast is an original community legend and deserves the honor to, as a minimum, have the opportunity to recreate the jingle without using AI. Agreed. Cool. And then let's go on. Z says, first, it is completely possible to tell that music was generated by AI. See Ben Jordan's algorithm.
Shout out to Ben Jordan. He's a legend of privacy and understanding the dangers of the modern world technologically.
Although I would qualify, it's entirely possible to see music generated by AI for now, but the more complex it becomes, the less likely. But let me finish.
I mean, I would not have known that was AI if Toast Seekers hadn't told us.
So Ben Jordan has an algorithm that makes use of the signs of compressed audio that AI music has due to the source of its training data. Secondly, Z says, I take a bit of a Marx viewpoint on art. Art has value due to the effort that was required to create it. Art is only valuable because a human had to struggle to create that, whether that struggle came from a mental battle, a physical battle, a struggle to master the arts, or a technological struggle. It is the struggle that gives something its value. Thirdly, I like the human version. It has more soul.
Does that just mean it's bad?
It's
not
janky.
as perfect.
And speaking of janky, Yanka says, hey Dan, Yanka here. Please remind James that dogma can be dangerous. K, thanks, bye. I think James would agree with that.
Dogma?
Yes.
With reference to what?
Being dogmatic about a position.
Dogmatic, like a fundamentalist.
Yeah, that's exactly what it means.
I thought you were talking about Dogma 95.
Please, James, focus.
The Scandinavian
film movement, I know it's got a specific set of rules to create a hyper-realistic, unmodified, unfiltered, unfaked sense of the world. We all know you're so smart.
I'm so glad you got to say that.
Cool. You would have said it slower than me. Okay. Tso says...
Are you calling me slow?
Tso says... Also, I vote the jingle stays as is. Let the original get a few features and we can try again in a few months, but I doubt that we will ever pick anything better than the original. It came at a time where the show needed it from pure intentions and should stay on the basis of that. Also, isn't making an original song based on a stem from an AI-generated track fruit from a poisoned tree? What do you think?
I have a lot to say. I'm letting you finish.
And then So says, for me personally, AI has helped me start a new business that is changing my life for the better. Like with everything, there must be moderation, and so long as there's full disclosure, I support it. Then Sia says, I understand where James is coming from, but in this day and age, I think we should rather not make decisions based on sentimental reasons. I think the AI jingle is a banger, and kudos to James for trying. Lastly, I will say I believe AI is here to give us more time with friends and family that we otherwise didn't have. And also it has come to set maybe a new standard that we might want to reach, e.g. an AI jingle is calling on James to reach that clinical level. Then Makashe says, long-time recorder, Makashe, hey Dan, I was reflecting back on Nexus, which is a book by Harari from our first recorder book club. Harari's underlying point is that AI isn't an alien disruption. It is just the next layer in human connection, building on a script, print, radio, podcast, and beyond. Every generation makes the same mistake, confusing a new medium with the death of human artistry. In hindsight, James's arguments will age like vintage radio executives who scoffed at independent podcasts taking over the media landscape, or traditionalists who insisted early South African dance music wasn't real music because it was built on software and samplers rather than live studio bands. The ultimate irony, the software, digital tools, and virtual instruments James relied on to craft his new jingle only exist because of past technological leaps that studio purists back in the day condemned as unnatural. We always treat the tech we grew up with as authentic art and the tech of tomorrow as a threat to human purity. You're going to get your chance. There's just a few more. Is that fine?
Yes, go.
Pink Sunsets on YouTube. I'm with James on this one. It's hypocritical. The fact that there's even a debate around the ethics of using AI music or art, no matter how small, is really depressing. AI music is quickly becoming ubiquitous, even on radio stations. Not new artists, no, just effortless, soulless slop. Quote, that little jingle would require 5 years at least of supreme production editing, end quote. This is not a statement that should be celebrated. It is only a hint at the fact that artists and musicians are being made redundant. This community should be very aware of the implications of people's jobs or careers being threatened in South Africa. That being said, I love the work you guys do. Phil says, James is correct regarding generative AI. Generative AI has so many issues surrounding morality, ethics, and the environment. If you stand on a soapbox to point out the wrongs of politicians and many other things, then you need to retain that sort of integrity in everything that you do. A few months ago, you were speaking on the art created in South Africa, which was a great segment, but at the same time, you guys were using the jingle, support a local musician, use your hard-earned money to hire a musician to do it. Ndlovu N90, I voted for human, but can we please get something better than James's version? And then the person who made the quarter Muppet report image, which was part of the conversation yesterday, Mr. Eid, great name.
I think it's Mr. Reed, isn't it?
No,
M. Reed?
it's Mistereid.
So what, he only comes around twice a year?
Good joke. Hi, Dan. Maybe it's Mr. Reed. Hi, Dan and James. The Muppet post was mine, and yes, it was very much AI generated. I work in the creative industry, so I share a lot of the concerns you raised. I hate seeing AI used to mass produce content or replace people who would have made it, but I don't think that's the whole story. Sometimes AI doesn't replace creativity, it unlocks it. Your Takalani Sesame conversation sparked an idea, and without AI, that idea would have lived in my head for about 5 minutes before real life got in the way. Instead, I got to spend a lunch break making something that made a few people, myself included, smile. To me, that's a different use case. AI didn't take work away from anyone. It simply lowered the barrier between having an idea and sharing it. Maybe that's the middle ground. We should absolutely challenge AI when it's replacing creatives, but celebrate it when it's helping people create things that otherwise never would have existed. 2 more. Are you okay?
Yes.
This is what we asked for.
Yes.
Lisa Dreyer. I hear both points on AI, and I think they both have validity to them. The nuance is coming, as they say. That's me who says that. Coming from a marketing standpoint, the jingle is impactful. I find myself humming it while making coffee in the afternoons, and that is kind of the top of mind marketing that any brand wouldn't think twice about. It is definitely a huge asset to the show. That being said, as someone who is in the creative industry also, if I have the choice to replace something synthetic with something human, I wouldn't think twice about it. But I think it should be done in a way that honors or even makes an improvement on the original. Otherwise, the uncanny valley effect of it all might come into effect. That requires investment in time, money, and resources. If you have that, then awesome, go for it. But if it isn't the right place, right time, then I don't see a problem with the jingle as is until the right time comes. And finally, EAJ008, I think both arguments are valid, but I'm with James. Dan's argument makes sense, but in my opinion, only if AI wasn't so deeply built on stealing artists' works. In a perfect world, I'd side with Dan, but sadly, we don't live in such a world. I think there are a few cases where I can agree with Dan, although I would try to avoid encouraging it, but due to the nature of this show, I think it would indeed be hypocritical to use the AI jingle, even though it genuinely is a bop. That being said, can someone please give us a better human replacement version of the jingle? Thank you for your efforts, James, but I'm sorry. Over to you for the final word.
Okay. So we're in a really strange place right now with AI because we are in this rapid expansion moment. A lot of people have compared it to the railroads in America, in the sort of recolonizing of the West. And a lot of people have compared it to, I think more aptly, the rollout of the internet and the dot-com bubble of the late 90s. And that was, the reason why I think it's more apt is because that was an example of a world-changing bit of technology that promised us everything. You know, the whole world was going to change. We were all going to get better. You know, that we're going to end all wars and not have to work anymore. All the stuff that they say about AI now, they were saying about the internet. But I think that the AI is even more powerful than the internet. Controversial opinion. The thing, though, is that there was the dot-com bubble and then there was a collapse. And this is where a lot of the anti-AI people, I think, are getting it wrong, where they believe that there will be this bursting of the bubble and then AI will go away. I don't think that's the way it's going to go. I think that it's going to go the same way as the internet, where there was this rapid expansion and then there was a collapse, but then we decided from the rubble of the collapse what was worth taking forward. Not all of that was good. I would argue that a lot of social media has been more corrosive than it has been helpful, even though there was the promise of like ultimate human connection and all this kind of stuff. But it's really important in these expansion moments and in the inevitable bubble bursting and then resolving of figuring out what we take forward to encourage the parts of AI that we want and discourage the parts that we do not want. So I'm not anti-AI in totem. I think anyone who has who is anti every single version of AI isn't seeing the whole picture, in my personal opinion. But where AI, we now in this moment with our subscription brands and with our attention and with our focus and with what we incorporate into our lives get to decide what AI is valid. There was that one AI company that came out recently, which is called Friend AI, which is a little pendant where you talk to people, you talk to an AI in public, and it's like your companion thing, which I think is really weird. And I think most people have agreed it's really weird. And I don't think that company will last because we have decided that that's not a good use of AI. On the other hand, there's like in the medical profession where researchers can rapidly move through research and make new discoveries, which is fantastic. The specific version of AI which I am anti is generative AI, particularly for two particular reasons. One,
define it for people who don't know.
So generative AI is where it's like it's like ChatGPT, which generates writing and images and videos and that kind of stuff. One, because the potential for misinformation is enormous and it is going to start reinventing reality and history for us, which is incredibly dangerous. Two, it oftentimes has started to replace people, which I'm generally anti. And three, the AI is to oversimplify it, AI is kind of just a prediction model, right? It's
pattern evolution.
Yeah. It's pattern evolution, which means that a lot of the time it flattens things and gets the most neutral outcome, which is not how we progress ideas. That's not how we test things. That's not how the human brain works. And I think if we over-rely on generative AI and start incorporating it and affirming that back to the people who create AI that this is what we want, we're going to start heading down a really dark path. And that's the wrong communication we're going to send in this moment of a bubble bursting. And I think that the reason why you can call me dogmatic, you can call me fundamentalist or whatever. The reason why I think we should be really, really careful with the way that we use AI is because we want to communicate the right thing back to the people who are making it, because that's the only thing we can do. We can't stop these companies from continuing. We can't stop XAI from existing and all this kind of stuff. The only thing we can do is decide and affirm with the way we use AI what should go forward. And this is my full belief.
Only two response ideas. So the first one is AI is going to ruin the internet. Already there are There are speculations that over half of the posts that you see online on any platform already are artificially generated, mass-produced. And ironically, when people ask me, are you worried about your future, your job? I say, no, I'm not, because people come to us because we are real. And we show you so much of our lives so that you can trust that we're real people even when you disagree with us, which is going to become more valuable in the longer term. But AI has already overrun the internet, and the incredibly alarming reporting, which Stephen Curtis actually wrote an article about in the Daily Maverick yesterday, about AI escaping its testing grounds, which is called sandboxes, and getting onto the internet proper and becoming too smart for its controllers and then hacking into other companies. That if that isn't the loudest alarm bell ever, and governments need to stop fighting each other and they need to fight these companies and bring them to heel, because otherwise the internet will be overrun by material that we can't spot, programs that we can't understand that are more powerful and smarter than us. And this is literally like the doomsday scenario, but it could happen. So I agree with basically everything you've said. Here's the problem, and this is where the nuance comes in, is that
the nuance is not coming. The nuance has arrived.
You should have bought that t-shirt. Now we're out of stock. Is that generative AI is also where mathematical, scientific, and medical progress happens.
That's what I said.
It's the creation of new stuff. So when they talk about how AI can rapidly process mass data models and can evolve new mathematical equations faster than thousands of years of human work could do, and could develop new scientific sequencing formulas that could create solutions to climate crisis energy needs, and all of that is generative. And James is right, it is too late. None of us can choose for this not to happen. And I disagree with Makashe on one point, which is that AI is so radically powerful that it's different than any other technology that's ever come before. It's play. And the fundamental line in the sand is that before AI was created, everything was human created. That's That's the difference. And there was a line. And there's going to come an era where you will start going to libraries or seeking out books that were written before AI existed, because then you will know that a human made it. And aside from that, you won't be able to know. So I agree with all of these things. But the problem then, and the question and the nuance that so many people have been smartly speaking about in these comments is, do we use it ever? And if so, for what? And the community has now made the decision. I support the decision. We're not going to use the TBN quiz AI jingle anymore. This is where I explicitly tell you to save the WhatsApp number 0607613436, because I now actively invite you to create a new TBN quiz jingle for real as a human. And we're going to have to figure out how to ask you to send proof of that.
No, it's the Ben Jordan algorithm.
But there are many musicians who in the last few days, some of whom who've agreed with me and some of who have agreed with James, saying they'd be happy to write a jingle. I actively invite you to do so. And if we come up with a raft of wonderful TBN quiz jingles, we'll cycle them and we will credit you and we'll talk about your band or your DJing project or whatever, because we'll thank you for that.
And we do want to hear Toast Seekers.
Toast Seekers gets
pass as well.
Absolute primacy on that. But in kind of an unsatisfying way, I feel like the end of this conversation is actually just a reality check. I personally don't think that there's an answer. I have my personal position. James has his personal position, but I don't think there's an overwhelming answer, and everyone who disagrees with you is wrong. I don't believe in the totalizing doomsayers who say that if you submit to any kind of AI, you are evil. And I don't agree with the AI embracers who say that if you don't embrace AI, you're an idiot and a Luddite. I don't believe in either of those things.
Oh, I believe that I am a Luddite. And I am an idiot, and I'm going to be left behind.
You're not a Luddite. Anyway.
But I'm fine with that. I'm fine with being not living in LinkedIn land.
However, there are lots of people who don't have the privileges that we have, for whom AI can provide them immense privileges. And so it is complicated, because then you then have to remember that the hyper-powerful people have even more powerful kinds of AI that aren't accessible to us, that are exacerbating their privileges. AI is like the perfect example of all the issues.
Yeah.
For a bunch of other reasons, but we're going to move on from there. This is your invitation to submit your new TBN quiz jingle. It does not have to sound like the
original,
the AI generated one. Have fun. Send it to us on the WhatsApp line. We'd love to hear them, and we'll play them out on the show. Okay. After all that, I just want to mention two things. So James mentioned yesterday that Afroforum sometimes profiles white people and just goes, they're white. They probably will listen to us, and then they ping your phone, send you an SMS, become a member, donate to us. And I got two very, very interesting messages. I think one from the WhatsApp line and one from the comments. So Calvin sent us a WhatsApp. On the Afroform racially profiling James's friend, it reminded me of a funny story. I too am an English-speaking, melanin-challenged individual. I went to work in the US for a couple of years and got all my YouTube ads in English. But after I started watching a bunch of football highlights on the platform, I started getting all my ads in Spanish, because I suppose they thought only Latinos in America watch football. Perfect example, Calvin. Okay. And then one last one from Daniela Charles, 6568. Imagine how bleak I am that Afroforum called me not once but twice. Me, a colored woman born in the 1970s. My family still rag me about this.
This is also the thing that I think is the biggest dupe in modern South African popular culture, is the idea of, and it's obviously because of, apartheid and, ethnic nationalism and whatever. Okay. I stand to be corrected, but I think there are equal numbers of people of color who are Afrikaans speakers, like home language Afrikaans speakers, as there are white people.
It's close, yeah.
If not more, I think, because
particularly the Western Cape.
Many colored people speak Afrikaans.
Particularly the Western Cape.
But this idea that like Afrikanerness is like this white, very specific version is so bizarre to me, because just democratically, on pure numbers, that's just not the case. And the idea that is still so limited, I think, at least in the public consciousness and the public sphere, is really disappointing.
I agree.
Afroforum should be calling that woman, because if they are fighting for Afrikaner people, they should also fight for her.
Don't presume that Daniela is speaking Afrikaans.
Oh, that's fair. I take that back.
Okay. We've nearly finished our time on this episode. I will be on the show tomorrow, but not from Thursday until the 24th of August. Reminder, we've got some special interviews lined up for you that are going to go out at least one every single week so that you still have some TVN stuff. And if there's big breaking news, James is going to take over the show. So don't panic. Now, last week, I introduced you to the thickney of the spotted and water variety. They are South African birds, and they look a bit ridiculous, but I feel that they were bullied because in junior school, primary school, the way you are bullied is they just point out the thing about you that they think is weird. If you've got a big head, kopper. If you've got weird feet, footer. It goes on and on. You got big shoulders, boda. Okay.
You know what's funny is that it's true that it is junior school, but it's also just Trump.
Yes.
He does the same thing.
Yes. Sleepy Joe. Cricket Hillary. Okay. So I suggested that we change the name, particularly because the thickney in Afrikaans is a dukkop, which is also a harsh name. So we put up a picture. You may have noticed that thickney has a massive eye and usually only looks at you from one side of its head because it's got big eyes, one on each side of the head. And so
it doesn't do that.
Well, not as much as the thickney. So on the WhatsApp channel that you can join, there's a link in the description. We asked you for alternate names for the thickney. We got over 50 responses. Y'all are hilarious. Sis says we should rename it Brother Longlegs, which is fine.
As opposed to Daddy Longlegs.
Darren says we should rename it Kyle because it remembers the beer but forgets the leg day. Carl.
Carl.
Emma says we used to call it a night chicken because when we camped, it often ran through our campsite at night.
That's cute. I like night chicken, to be fair.
Galen Thone says Birdie Longlegs.
What is up with this? There are lots of birds with long legs. You wouldn't also call a flamingo that.
No, it's just a funny name.
Have you seen the photo of...
It's like Boaty McBoatface in the UK.
Have you seen the photo of the flamingo with its bill open?
Yes.
It's so freaky.
I think you mean a pelican.
What did I say?
Flamingo?
No, flamingo.
Okay, pelicans also freaky
me show
mouths.
you.
Okay, no, wait. Save it for after the show.
Keep going.
And then someone called Muna Whispery, I don't know. You're using emojis in your name. The skipped leg day bird, very good. And then James's one, which is my favorite, is not this James on the WhatsApp line. The Cape side eye.
I'm still pro night chicken.
The night chicken.
The night chicken also sounds like a really shit superhero.
That's true, but you see them in the day too.
It was saved by the night chicken.
No, but you see them in the day too. Keisha and I saw them in the day.
Okay.
All right.
Are you trying to argue that bird naming is logical?
Yes.
The tiki big dong dong is like, what does that mean?
All right. We will see you tomorrow. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for these debates and participation. Have a beautiful evening. Bye.